Indianapolis, home of the Indy 500, affordable housing, and some of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. But let's be real, no place is perfect. And here in the Midwest, we've embraced our mid status. We're not the best or worst weather wise. Our city's not the most bustling or the sleepiest. And that's the beauty of it, of living here in Indiana. We're right in the middle, steady, reliable, and full of surprises. In today's video, we're breaking down the top reasons people regret moving to Indy. Whether you're planning your move or just curious, stick around. You might save yourself some trouble. If you're new here, I'm Geesaman, local Indy area resident and real estate agent, and I love making videos like this for people like you that are thinking about moving to the Indy area. In a lot of my videos, I talk a lot about the positives of living in the Indy metro area. But today, I'm going to be focusing on some of the negative. Let's get started. The first and probably the main reason people regret moving to Indianapolis is the unpredictable weather. If you're not a fan of extremes, then Indy climate can be kind of a shocker. In some of my videos, I've said the phrase, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes, because that phrase may have actually started here in Indiana. Winters are cold and gray with icy roads that make driving kind of a nightmare. And summers, they're hot and sticky and full of mosquitoes. And then what about spring? Well, that's tornado season. Depending on where you live, you may hear tornado sirens more than you'd like. And it's not just the storms, it's the humidity too. Ever walked outside and felt like you were swimming through the air? Well, that's summer in Indy. Okay, I kind of made that sound really bad when in all reality, it really isn't as bad as some other areas, so it's all perspective. Our Florida clients tell us we aren't that humid. Our Michigan clients say our winters are mild, and our Arizona clients say summers aren't that hot. So it really just depends on what you are coming from. So here's my advice. Invest in good winter gear and a reliable air conditioner, and download the weather app as it's going to become your best friend. The second reason people regret moving to the Indianapolis area is the lack of public transportation. Now, Indianapolis is often called kind of the driving city, and for good reason. The Indigo bus system does exist, but routes and frequency leave a lot to be desired. For most people, having a car isn't optional, it's essential. Here in Indianapolis. Here in Indianapolis, only about 1.1% of residents use public transportation compared to 5% nationally. So if you're coming from a city like, say, New York or Chicago, where you can hop on a train anytime, that seems weird, this can be a tough adjustment. Because of the necessity of owning a car, you may actually end up spending more money on, say, gas, insurance, and car maintenance that you weren't expecting. But remember, carpooling and ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft can help. And if you're moving to a suburb, remember to check out neighborhoods and communities with walkable amenities to reduce your driving. And speaking of suburbs, Indy is one of those cities where the suburbs are a big part of life. But it's also another reason why people regret moving to Indianapolis. While you can find amazing homes in places like Carmel Fishers or Noblesville, it comes at a cost of long commutes and sometimes a sense of disconnection. If you're used to a dense, kind of walkable urban environment, then the suburban sprawl can kind of feel isolating. Grocery stores, schools, and workplaces might be several miles apart, and that can add up with either time and gas money. When I have clients like you that are new to the Indy area, I suggest that they go to Google. What did I say? Google. I suggest that you go I can't even talk. I suggest you go and do a Google search for amenities that you think that you will use most, like certain grocery stores, pharmacies, restaurants, or entertainment venues. Then try to find a home relatively close to that or to each of those places to kind of give you an idea of how long it's going to take you to get from place to place. And depending on where you decide to live, you can get a lot more home for your money. But if walkability is a priority for you, then maybe focusing on neighborhoods near downtown or places like Broadwell would be beneficial. Another reason people tell me they regret moving to Indianapolis is the limited job market for certain fields. Now, While Indianapolis has a growing economy, it's not booming in every sector. If you're in healthcare, logistics, pharmaceuticals, or manufacturing, you'll probably find plenty of opportunity. But for things like tech, entertainment, or high-level corporate jobs, you might hit a ceiling here compared to some of the larger cities around the U.S. Now, I saw a recent study that shows Indianapolis' unemployment rate is fairly low at 3.5%, but tech jobs make up only 4% of the economy. Some people move here expecting Silicon Valley vibes or endless creative gigs, but the reality can be kind of disappointing. Many end up commuting or honestly working remotely. So I would say if your industry isn't booming here, consider remote work or starting your own business, because Indy is an affordable place to launch something new. One of the final regrets I hear from people when they move to Indy is the limited entertainment and nightlife. Now look, Indianapolis certainly does have its charms. Mass Ave is great. The food scene is actually underrated. And we've got world-class sports with the Indianapolis Colts, Indiana Pacers, and the Indy 500, just to name a few. But compared to bigger cities, the options are fewer and they close earlier. Don't expect a bustling nightlife or endless events like you would get, say, in Chicago or even Austin, Texas. For families, this isn't a big deal, as there are tons of parks, festivals, and kid-friendly activities galore. But for singles and young professionals, you might feel limited after a while. I suggest you make the most of what's here in Indy by joining local groups, explore unique events, and plan weekend trips to nearby cities like, say, Chicago or Cincinnati. Before I finish up on today's roast of Indianapolis, I do have one other thing to mention, and that's the flat landscape. If you're coming from places with mountains, beaches, or scenic views, the flat terrain in central Indiana might just be uninspiring. But hey, at least the roads are easy to drive. It's just straight to your next location. All right, I think I've done enough damage to Indianapolis for one day, but all joking aside, all of these are real reasons people regret moving to Indianapolis. Even though the weather is wonky sometimes, the public transportation isn't great, there are lots of sprawling suburbs, jobs are limited in some fields, the nightlife sucks compared to Chicago, we hear it all, and the landscape is as flat as your kitchen table, I still love living here, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But what do you think? Do these reasons sound like deal breakers or just part of the charm? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you're already living in Indy, share your tips for making it work. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you never miss out on all things Indy. And if you're thinking of moving to the Indy and surrounding areas somewhere in the next, say, 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, I would love to be your trusted real estate agent and help you find a home here in Indy. I've lived here for more than 30 years, and I know this area backwards and forwards, top to bottom. Once again, my name is Geesaman, and my contact information is below. Oh, and just to balance out all of the negatives from today's video, here is a video you can watch that goes over some of my favorite things about living here in Indy. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.